Welcome to Immigration Talk with Attorney Anish. Attorney Anish is an immigration lawyer who has been certified as a specialist in immigration and nationality law by the State Bar of California's Board of Legal Specialization.
This is Anish Vashista of the law firm of Anish Vashista Professional Law Corporation. It's April 3rd, 2020. And while my law firm continues to be open and operate during the COVID-19 crisis, I wanted to provide some videos for people who may not have access to counsel and who may want to find out what's going on with their case. While a number of USCIS offices, including all the USCIS field offices and a number of immigration courts, especially for non-detained matters, are closed, there are still some options people have for finding out what's going on with their case. And it may be frustrating if your attorney is not available or if you're otherwise not able to find out the information you're looking for. So I want to provide basically some free, helpful assistance in what someone can do to find out what's going on with their case. Today we wanted to talk about checking your USCIS filing status. So USCIS is United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. It's a component of the United States Department of Homeland Security. It's not to be confused with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is also part of Homeland Security, but it's a different sub-agency. It's also not to be confused with the Immigration Court System, also known as the Executive Office for Immigration Review for people who are in removal proceedings, because that's a part of the United States Department of Justice. USCIS handles the bulk of immigration-related benefit applications and petitions filed with the U.S. government. So the first thing you would do is you would go to USCIS's website, which is uscis.gov. And then you would see a link that says check case status, and you go ahead and click on that link. And here you would see a box where it says enter receipt number. Now your receipt number is usually going to be 13 digits long, 3 letters, which is for the service center to which the case was first forwarded after it was accepted for filing, followed by 10 numbers. The first 2 numbers of which are the fiscal year in which the case was filed, and then the next 3 numbers are the day of that fiscal year out of 365 days that the case was accepted for filing, and then the next 5 are usually sequential from for when it was actually entered into the system that day. So I'm going to enter a random receipt number. It's not for any of my clients' cases, but I'll go ahead and pick a case that's at the California Service Center. So usually that receipt number will begin with WAC, based on the previous name that the California Service Center used to have, the Western Adjudication Center. They just kept the same abbreviation, and we'll go ahead and put something for the fiscal year 2020, and then we'll put 123 for the day of that fiscal year, and then we'll go ahead and just pick some random numbers and put check case status. Here you can see that this case was approved. It was an employment-based non-immigrant worker petition, and I don't even know what number I put in, but apparently this person had their case approved, or this employer had the case approved for an employee, so good for them. Now, if you are trying to figure out why your case remains pending, even though it's been pending for a long time, you can go ahead and contact USCIS, and there's usually a 1-800 number at the bottom left of the receipt notice that you have. Now, it has to be the person calling has to either be the person who filed, so that's particularly important for employment-based petitions because the employer would have to call, or the attorney or the legal representative for that filer. But what you can go ahead and do, if you are that person and you call the 1-800 number and they're telling you that they can accept the inquiry, or even before you call the 1-800 number, you want to see what the standard processing time for the case is. So you can go back to uscis.gov, you can click on check processing times, and you'll see that you have to select a form and a field office or service center. So the field office or service center may not necessarily be the one to which the case was initially forwarded. This is particularly important for green card cases. So an application for a green card, also known as an application to adjust status, is usually filed on Form I-485. So go ahead and select that. Now, if you have a family-based green card application, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well, the first 3 letters are MSC, and on the receipt notice it says that it's at the Missouri Service Center, also known as the National Benefits Center. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Missouri Service Center, National Benefits Center. But in the first part of the list of field offices or service centers, you don't see Missouri Service Center and you don't see Nebraska Service Center. Why? Because what you have to select is the USCIS field office that has geographical authority over the area where the applicant resides. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Los Angeles. Now you might say, well, my case is right now still pending at the Missouri Service Center, and it's not in LA. That's okay. You still would have to pick the field office that has jurisdiction over where the applicant resides, and you click on check processing times, you'll see a pretty big range, 6.5 to 21 months. Now we're dealing with family-based adjustments of status, so you want to ignore the range for employment-based because that's not very helpful. But if you look at family-based over here, you'll see that they have a range of 6.5 to 18.5 months. Now that's a pretty big range. And what's even more important is, for inquiry purposes, is that you have to look at the date for receipt date for a case inquiry. If your receipt date is after this date, then even if you call the 1-800 number, or if you have and you were told you can't submit an inquiry, that would explain why. Similarly, if you try to submit an inquiry online through USCIS's website, you're going to run into the same problem. So if you had this filing, if you file a family-based green card application and the LA field office had jurisdiction over where you reside, and you filed before September 26, 2018, well, then you can submit an inquiry. And rather than calling 1-800 number, what I would normally do is I would go back to uscis.gov and click again on check case status, scroll down and put submit a case inquiry, which is for a number of different inquiries, not just for case outside the normal processing time. As you can see, it can be for a typographic error. It can be for you didn't receive a notice by mail, a card by mail, such as your green card or work permit, or a document by mail, such as like an advance parole, if it didn't come as a card. We're going to go ahead and click on case outside normal processing time. And here you have a long list of items that you have to enter. So you'd have to enter the form number, I-45, the type, family-based adjustment. You're going to want to enter the receipt number, the date filed, your name, your date of birth, the alien number. And when I say your, I mean the applicant's, the mailing address for the applicant that's on file with USCIS. And a lot of this information is the same information that you're going to be requested if you were to call the 1-800 number, the National Customer Service Center for USCIS. And but there's a part where you have more control over what's said, the last action taken on the case. And that could be the date filed, the date the fingerprints were done, the date the interview was done. So you want to put as much detail in here as you can, because this is your real chance of being able to communicate, if not to the adjudicating officer, at least someone who has some type of control over what's going on, and they can see your message. You'd enter your email address if you want to receive the response by email, and then you would select that you're the applicant or petitioner, and you go ahead and submit it. Now, if there's an error saying it won't be accepted, that means there either was some kind of error in what you inputted and you had to correct that, or the case is still within the standard processing time and won't be accepted for filing. In which case, what are you going to do? You have to wait. Or you can look at other options if you don't necessarily want to wait, such as trying to request an expedite, if there's some kind of urgent reason why you need adjudication sooner. And that's just an example. I'm not saying you have to absolutely wait if it's still within the standard processing time, or you have to have an urgent reason. There may be other things that can be done, but that you'd have to talk to an attorney, such as myself, in a more formalized, individualized consultation. So if you submitted the inquiry through the National Customer Service Center, either by calling the 1-800 number or by doing this e-request process, and you haven't gotten the response that you wanted, rather than panicking and rather than maybe running to the courthouse, which is also an option, you may want to see what other amicable or administrative means you have to resolving the jam in your case. And so one of those is by doing USCIS Ombudsman inquiry. And to do that, you would go to the Ombudsman's website, dhs.gov/case-assistance, hashtag WCM-survey-target-ID. That's a very long address. So what you can do instead is you can just Google it. So I'm going to go ahead and go to google.com, and I'm going to type in CIS Ombudsman, and look, they even give you the option for the actual form you had to submit. But you go ahead and click on that, and then you click on Case Assistance, and then you come back to the same page we were initially at. And then you scroll down to Submit a Request for Case Assistance with the Ombudsman. Now you might say, hey, I already submitted an inquiry with USCIS. The Ombudsman is technically not the same as USCIS, even though they're still covered by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So they have a special route to inquiring on your case that is not the same as calling the 1-800 number or doing an e-request through USCIS's website. You click on Submit an Electronic DHS 7001. You scroll down, you expand all the sections. Again, you got to enter a bunch of information, such as the filer's name, contact information, date of birth and place of birth. If it's an entity like a corporation that's filed, usually what I would do is I would enter the date that the corporation was formed, and I would put the United States as the country of birth. Alien number, if there is one, the applicant or petitioner information such as the application or petition information such as the receipt date, the receipt number, and what form was filed. And you're going to see a form list that's very similar to what's on USCIS's website when you try to do an e-request. You had to say what was it that you were filing for. Were you filing for student status, H-1B status? Were you filing for a green card? Were you filing for citizenship? Were you filing for asylum? Were you filing for a work permit or advanced parole? Were you filing for a waiver of inadmissibility? Or maybe there was something that's not on the list that you were filing for. So you got to check whatever's applicable. Then you have to also check what is the issue. And then you can put your own description. You can talk about what actions you've taken. Most likely you're going to say, yeah, I visited the USCIS case status webpage. Yeah, I went ahead and submitted an inquiry with USCIS. Even if you didn't do it with the 1-800 number, if you did an e-request online, you should still get what's called an SRMT number or the referral number, and you would enter that in here. If you did anything else, you can go ahead and select that. Person preparing this form would be you, and then if you want to attach any supporting documentation, you can. You want to be careful as to what you include because the Ombudsman may not be really interested in seeing everything, but at the same time would need enough information to go ahead and inquire on your case. And then you would do the verification and you would submit it. And then you would get some type of verification number, and then the CIS Ombudsman would go ahead and inquire on your behalf or contact you if it needs more information. Now, if you're not happy with that response or you're not getting one in a timely manner, another option you have, again, rather than panicking or going to the U.S. District Court, is to go ahead and do a congressional inquiry. Now, you might say, who's my congressman? And you could do it with your senator as well. But if you want to go through your congressman, you don't know who it is. And when I say congressman, I mean congressperson. It could be a woman as well. You go ahead and type in, who's my representative into Google, and it'll take you to this page. And you go ahead and enter your zip code. For example, I could put in the zip code for my LA office, and I would see that there are a number of different representatives who cover that area. And so you want to put the more exact address to find exactly who governs, into which district your location is. Now, you don't want to put your attorney's zip code or address because that's not what matters. The representative will only be able to assist you if you reside within that representative's district. I can also put in my Fremont office zip code, and then we get two different options. So we'd have to provide a more narrowed search inquiry by putting the whole address, and we can go ahead and do that. We'll go back and put in my LA office's zip code because there were three. But if I go ahead and put in 5055, look, it's already there. I put find the rep by address, and we'll see that it's Ted Lieu, and because his district covers this area of California. And then if you go to Ted Lieu's website, I'm not saying to go to Ted Lieu's website. You should go to the website of the congressperson who has jurisdiction or in whose district you reside. Usually you're going to be able to find something on there such as help with the federal agency. That's usually what it would be. And then if it's USCIS, you got to click on the right link for a privacy release form for USCIS 33rd District. Click on that, you get a form. Again, a lot of the same information, but you can put in more particularized information about your case, and then there's going to be contact information about how to send it. So those are the examples of one has to find out what's going on with the case, how much longer it's supposed to take, what can I do to get an inquiry submitted so that if the case is pending beyond the standard processing time, I can get a decision, such as calling the 1-800 number. But I would prefer, if you were like me, you prefer to do the e-request where you have more control over the information that goes into the inquiry through USCIS's website, going to the CIS Ombudsman's office, and then also submitting an inquiry through your congressperson or even your senator. And if those don't work, then you have to look into what other options you have, and that's going to require more particularized advice regarding your situation. And at that point, you may want to call an attorney, whether it's me or someone else. Anyway, I'm always looking forward to hearing your ideas on what other uh, tools or tips that my viewers want to hear about. I'll be talking about something else next time, but feel free to give me your ideas. And if you ever have any questions about any immigration issue, please feel free to contact my law firm. Thank you very much.